Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be discussing how to build evaluation into your budget. As a former funder, I've seen countless proposals come in without any budget for evaluation, even though one was needed for the work. So let's have you not be that person. So before we begin, my name is Liz Gordillo, and I'm the founder of Liz G Strategy. And we implement evaluations with foundations and nonprofit partners to lead to impactful change for individuals, communities, and organizations. I love evaluation, and I love it because it helps make changes for those in need, those who are underserved, and those who are underrepresented. So thanks so much for joining me today. All of these trainings are organized by the grant lifecycle, which includes the proposal phase, the learning or implementation phase, as well as the reporting phase. Today, we're going to focus in on the proposal phase, and we're going to talk very briefly about where you leverage evaluation and data storytelling in grant proposals. The first is to develop program logic to clarify your program description. The second is to use data to make the case for your need statement. The third is to clarify your plan to evaluate and learn in your evaluation section. The fourth is to set aside dollars to evaluate in your budget. And the fifth is to use storytelling to synthesize your information. We're going to focus in on that fourth area, the budget, and specifically the evaluation budget. And often people forget to include evaluation in their budgets, especially if they don't have an external evaluator. So they are assuming that if they're doing evaluation internally, that they don't need to build a budget for it, but it still costs money and time and energy in order to do that evaluation. So some evaluation responsibilities to consider line item wise are travel expenses, which could include mileage for trips, flight, parking, per diem for out of town trips, other meeting costs, food, space, incentives, childcare. If you're having some sort of focus group, you might need some of these things included in order to gather data and information. Communication expenses, including telephone, postage, and marketing, different materials such as survey instruments or technology costs. A lot of people are going to online surveys, but in order to get the data out of the program or to have a lot of flexibility, often you have to pay for that technology. And then finally, different supplies, printing and copying. Those are some line items to consider when you're putting together evaluation budgets. Some personnel costs that you might want to consider when putting together an evaluation budget are, overall planning and design, instrument designs, so like survey, focus group questions. So even if you're doing this internally, it's still going to take someone time to develop an evaluation plan, to develop these instruments, to do data collection, to do the data entry and analysis, to, if you have to do a literature search or a search to find surveys or focus groups, that's something to consider. Different reporting takes quite a bit of time. I mean, I know for me, it takes me probably about a week to put together a report. And I'm sure it takes many of you that amount of time to put together evaluation reports, if not longer, because you have a variety of other tasks that you have to do in addition to that. Evaluation management, such as meetings or checking calls, etc. So again, these are things to consider, whether it's internal evaluation, whether you have somebody on your staff that's doing the evaluation, or whether it's external evaluation, you've hired a consultant to do the evaluation. Something to consider is that not every evaluation needs to be a black tie evaluation. What that means is that you can right size the evaluation based on what you need to know, how much effort you can put into it, and the financial resources you have available. It should still be high quality, but it doesn't have to be, a randomized control study where you have everything very rigorous and buttoned up, but you should still have rigor. and it needs to be relevant to what you're doing. Don't just do evaluation to do evaluation. And so what that means is that you can typically build an evaluation into a budget as long as it is a reasonable budget. So the question I always get is, what is a reasonable budget? So it depends. It depends who you ask. It depends on the project. It depends on a variety of things. I, on this slide, have 8 to 15%. I've seen anywhere from 5 to 20% recommended recently. And that could go up exponentially if the whole purpose of the work that you're doing is to do an evaluation of a program. But if you just have a typical program and you're doing a typical program evaluation, then that 8 to 15% range is probably pretty good. All right. That is it for today. Please see the link in the description to a fabulous document by the Kellogg Foundation. Page 133 gives budgeting information to help you through. Good luck and thanks again.